Hello, everyone. So I'm Tim Boire. I'm the CEO of VenoStent, developing these tunable bioabsorbable smart polymer wraps to fundamentally transform vascular surgery. There are over 5 million vascular surgeries that use veins as replacement arteries. Because veins are not built like arteries, half of these surgeries fail, drastically increasing mortality and impairing quality of life. VenoStent saves lives and healthcare dollars with a bioabsorbable wrap applied during surgery to help veins become like arteries so they don't fail. We're raising a $20 million Series A to scale our tissue engineering company over the next 36 months and get FDA approval for our beachhead hemodialysis application. We're addressing a $20 billion plus global addressable market bottoms up that's first starting with hemodialysis, then for bypass grafting. Very poor standard of care. We've meaningfully de-risked our technology through an initial feasibility study in 20 hemodialysis patients showing drastic improvements over standard of care. It's a well-vetted active space with recent IPOs and acquisitions with technologies that actually don't even improve clinical outcomes. We're a capital-efficient management team that's built a high-functioning team with clinical domain experts backing us. And we're starting with hemodialysis where kidney disease patients, basically, they have failed kidneys. They can no longer rely on their kidneys to filter out these toxins in their blood, so they need an external filter via dialysis to remove those toxins. And the current gold standard is a native artery vein connection created in your arm for these dialysis treatments. And unfortunately, these arteriovenous fistulas, these AVFs, have a very high failure rate, as the gold standard even, a 60% one-year failure rate. So this impairs quality and length of life for patients, but it also leads to a significant cost burden on our healthcare system. It costs $24,000 every time this surgery fails. Direct costs to Medicare, to our taxpayers, translates to about $3 billion in annual costs to our Medicare system. So we've shown some very vast improvements over the current standard of care in our initial feasibility study involving 20 hemodialysis patients. So we've shown improvements across the board, and most notably an 8x reduction in the maturation failure. So 40% of the time they do this artery vein connection in the arm to create this arteriovenous fistula so they can do these dialysis treatments through the arm. But 40% of the time, the veins are never used for dialysis. We showed only a 5% maturation failure here. And so if this would be translated to the general population, even if it was half as good as this, could save thousands of lives and billions of healthcare dollars annually. Why these fail is because the vein is not built like an artery. So basically you have an overdeformation that occurs when you hook up a vein to an artery. It just overexpands. There's a lot of violent pulsation. That leads to an injury to the inner protective endothelial lining of the vessel, which then leads to this cascade of proliferation of smooth muscle cells inwards, causing this occlusion and lack of blood flow where you need to intervene or just abandon the site. And there are only so many sites, so you're just essentially having to rely on a central line catheter to sustain life. So what we do is we apply this wrap at the time of surgery, this compliant artery mimetic wrap, to help the vein basically more naturally adapt to this environment so you don't have this type of response and you can use the vein for dialysis or have better long-term patency outcomes. So you can see this conformable vascular wrap comprised of bioabsorbable smart polymers applied around the artery vein connection in the arm of dialysis patients. It's providing this mechanical support to help the vein first behave like an artery and then become like an artery. It's a tissue engineering approach. We've optimized our design so that we are promoting outward remodeling to prevent this inward remodeling process that causes this collapse and these failures. We also have an angulation effect that has hemodynamic impacts to basically improve the patency through the entire vascular circuit of the patient. We're a bioabsorbable solution. We've tuned our material properties, our thermal, mechanical degradation properties to be optimal for this application. And it's a conforming fit to each patient where these are complex geometries that's important for more effective mechanical support and outward remodeling of the vein. It's also simple to deploy. It's only adding a minute or two to the current workflow of the surgeon. In our initial feasibility study, we've shown no device-related adverse events through 9 months of the study. We've shown superior patency to the standard of care, and I mentioned that 8x reduction in maturation failure, so more of the veins are being used for dialysis. Not only that, 90% of our patients did not require any intervention to use the AVF consistently for dialysis, whereas in the United States, you see only a third of patients that reach a point of maturation without needing an intervention, which really has important long-term implications for the functional use of the vein consistently and durably over time. It's also being used quickly, so we see only 2 months to the point of AVF use compared to what you see where the average patient in the United States has to wait 6 months before they can use the vein for dialysis. So we're starting with our $3 billion beachhead in hemodialysis access, but also we have ongoing programs in bypass grafting. And in a diseased large animal model at 90 days, we showed a significant reduction in neointimal maturation, the primary culprit of these failures, this inward remodeling, as well as a reduction in stenosis. So we have a great competitive position to our competitors in the sense that we're providing better clinical outcomes than a very scientifically interesting approach like Humacyte, these decellularized tissue-engineered blood vessels, but providing the clinical benefit. And then, compared to laminate, our closest competitor in development, they have a sort of a somewhat similar mode of action in the mechanical support component of this, but it's a long-term implant metal cage around the AVF, which could have long-term complication issues. So we're able to obviate all of those issues, skin erosion, infection, any pain caused by a long-term implant, ability to remove or intervene with ease, and it's also the user preference from both the patient and the surgeon to use a bioabsorbable solution that goes away after it's no longer needed in the body. We also have the ability for superior performance. So our artery mimetic support and conforming fit should provide this more effective mechanical support and outward remodeling for improved maturation and patency. We anticipate being on the market in Q1 of 2025 for our hemodialysis application and are raising this $20 million Series A for this U.S. pivotal trial to fund that and get FDA approval in hemodialysis access, also to scale our manufacturing capacity and expand our team. We're currently 9 full-time. We recently hired a VP of operations who has over 2 decades of experience in Class 2 and Class 3 devices, both pre-FDA, post-FDA. And has had multiple successful exits of startups to help us get to the finish line here. We also have a great board of directors consisting of current investors, and we have a great clinical scientific advisory board that helped to inform all the initial feasibility clinical trial endpoints. These are some of these KOLs in nephrology and vascular surgery actually write the guidelines for how to do hemodialysis access trials and how you define these endpoints, and we'll continue to work with them as we move towards our pivotal trial, which we're planning to initiate in about 10 months. So we have great clinical partners, great other partners, funding partners, Creative Ventures, Deep Tech VC out of the Bay Area, IAG Capital Partners, and we did Y Combinator in 2020. We also won the Redesigned Dialysis Kidney X Prize in 2020. We're one of 6 nationally recognized projects by the Department of Health and Human Services and the American Society of Nephrology as a very promising solution to transform the care of kidney disease patients. Thank you very much.